Yousuf, first of all, welcome at FC Den Bosch. What are your first impressions after your first 2 weeks over here?
Yeah, it's been eventful, but what I've seen is that there's a club with a lot of potential here. You know, I feel like there's definitely you see the fans and a couple of games that I've watched over the last couple of months, even that I feel like there is the passion that you need for a club to succeed. You definitely have a lot of history here, and you can see that on a day-to-day basis. But I think first impressions for me is that it's a club with a lot of potential.
Yeah, just go back to you. What's your background in football? Where did you get your passion from at a young age, probably?
Yeah, so well, I started off playing, but for me, very quickly, my attention turned to scouting and recruitment. I did play at a very young age, and after a few injuries, my focus was trying to be involved in football as I could. I had the journey through becoming a scout at a very young age. So I started scouting when I was 17. I worked at Brentford as a voluntary scout, so a lot of my time I devoted for a year and a half to try and basically get into football and understand how it works. I got asked a few questions by my parents to basically try and figure out what I'm actually doing. For me, being South Asian, it's very normal to go down an educational route, but also at the same time they were very supportive with the passion that I had. I brought myself a little bit of time, brought myself some kit from Brentford to the shop to give me a little bit of a boost with my parents, to give them a little bit of a boost of what I'm doing. And then I then went into Reading very briefly. Similar concept, was voluntary. Very quickly after that, got a role at Chelsea, which started off as a part-time scout within the region, and that grew to me becoming an intern as a recruitment analyst. Then took over as a lead recruitment analyst in my third season there, and was lead recruitment analyst across academy and first team over the course of the time that I was there, which was 5 years. And then went to Arsenal, club that I support, and I then had a really good period there in my 3.5 years that I was there. Learned a lot, worked with a lot of good people, came in as head of emerging talent, and yeah, that's been my journey in football. Is now 13 years involved, but yeah, I've enjoyed every minute.
Yeah, what experience do you bring with you from your previous roles and positions at different football clubs?
Yeah, so at Arsenal, my role was to basically manage in between first team, loans and academy. So I had a team of people that I worked with that basically managed the processes in between, but also from a player recruitment perspective, we focused on sort of 17 to 23. My biggest area of management was during that phase, but previously also at Chelsea, I kind of managed the scouts on how we managed our processes, even linking from an academy to a first team processes perspective. So a lot of areas around player recruitment, but also being involved in elite organizations and knowing how they run, you end up being involved in a lot of other things as well. So for me, it was really good to be involved at the absolute elite, because then you know where the standard is when it comes to an organization, and being involved in different areas across all of the organization, it gave me the ability to also grow my own thoughts and my own ideas of what I think I can implement into another project.
Yeah, you said you were involved with the absolute elites, but what made you decide to sign for FC Den Bosch, like coming down from the top level to we're playing first division? What made you decide to sign for FC Den Bosch, and how did we get on your radar?
So yeah, I mean, for me it was quite a comfortable decision, because I spent a lot of time in Holland. So a lot of my time being at Arsenal and Chelsea, I spent quite a little bit of my time watching from amateur leagues all the way up to the professional leagues. I felt like I've it was almost like coming home in a sense, because I had this affiliation with Holland. It was the first place where I came to when I was an 18-year-old to scout and watch my first game as a scout. So I had a connection already. So when the opportunity came about for me to come on board as a technical manager, so it was one of those things where if it was probably, you know, another area or another country, I maybe would have thought a little bit more. But because it was Holland, I did some research around the club itself. I saw actually how big the club has been, and it was exciting for me to be involved in hopefully bringing those times back. And that was one of the biggest reasons as to why I felt comfortable and I felt excited by coming here.
Yeah, but what made the job so attractive to you?
The job of being able to work with, I feel like, really good people in the time that I've worked here. The fans, the passion that is in the city itself for the club, and also the actual role of being able to impact on internal development, on players internally, but also from other areas across the club. Academy integration obviously being massive, and also player recruitment and linking that all together. So the role itself for me within this organisation that has loads of potential, it's important that we link all of those aspects together, and that's what I'm really, really excited about.
In your announcement you said there's a lot of positive work going on within the club. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, you can see that there are some areas, of course, that we need to improve, and that's, you know, for every organisation. But I think it's also important we realise what we do well, and you know, the academy success has been great. There's a lot of positivity around the organisation in terms of the fans and how passionate they are. The actual infrastructure itself, you can see that this is a club of a good standard. Not to say that I was surprised when I walked through the doors, but I was really happy to see that it's an organisation and an infrastructure that really can be built into something. So yeah, there is positive work, and we know that we have work to do as well. But yeah, I'm pleased where things are at for the moment for me to take over and hopefully make things better. But there are a lot of positives to take as well, and I want to try and focus on that and build on the positive aspect.
Yeah, you want to build on that positive aspect, you said. But what are your plans with FC Den Bosch?
So we want to be patient. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time to try and make these steps. But I feel like there is definitely an area for us as a club to be at a higher level than where we are at, and I think everyone around the club knows that. What I want to try and do is build some positivity around the place and give us, first of all, the internal structures for us to improve our own facilities, our own players, our own what we have. Integrate our academy players. The academy is really, really important to us, and will continue to be. So create a structure where there are players that we have in our first team that are role models, like a Danny and a Wouter as well, that we want to try and create examples for the next generation within the city, within the country. I know that this country is respected for their footballing culture across the globe, and we don't want to get away from that. You know, we want to embrace that, but also from a player recruitment perspective, we want to be global, and we want to try and make sure that we bring in the best talents that can help us get to the next level. Our ultimate goal, of course, is to play in the top division, but we also know that we have a lot of work to do from a business aspect and also from a performance aspect as well.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You want to bring in the best talents and want to be a bit global with it. Your first two signings came in, Iban and Thomas.
Yeah.
How did they get your attention, and what can they add to the team itself?
So I know Iban really well. I watched him quite a lot while I was at Arsenal. He's a player that I feel like has a lot of good qualities as a left central defender, and I feel like there's certainly an area for us to add a little bit of depth and also some quality. The type of player he is, I feel like he will react really positively to this step for himself. And for me, those are the characteristics that I've been looking at, is players that are able to adapt and almost take control of their own development and take us to the next level as well as themselves. So he fits that mold really, really well. He's only 20, but he's a leader. He is very vocal, and I think that will also help us as well. And also Thomas is a Lithuanian international, has played for Lithuania's first team, has experience at a very good level when it comes to that. He is an attacking player, so he is someone that I believe that can give us some options in the attacking third, which is also, I feel like we can potentially add as well, in terms of depth and in terms of quality. Both of them are good characters to bring into the group, and those were the main things for me when looking at players to bring in at this moment, is bringing in good characters, bringing in a positive energy, and hopefully we can see a reaction across the squad, and building on, like I said, the positivity that I want to build is then creating scenarios where we almost create internal competition, and that gets the best out of everybody in the team.
Yeah, just to end it all, you've got a new job, new club, a new culture. What are you the most excited about?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the small wins that we can make in the immediate term. I think as a club, especially, and as an organisation, I think there's quick wins that we can create for us within this environment, and I get a buzz out of that. You know, when you see something impact from what you've said or what we've done as an organisation, those are the things that give you the fuel to carry on. In terms of the culture, in terms of a new country, I kind of feel like I'm at home. It's almost like my second home, really. So I feel comfortable, and again, I want to embrace where I'm at, and I want to be in a position where hopefully in a couple of years' time it's a different conversation that we're having, and we've achieved a lot as an organisation and as a club.